Yeah, I want to offer a little context and history of conscious connected breathing here in the West, how it landed and how far it's come. Essentially, in the 60s, the pioneers of conscious connected breathing were particularly Leonard Orr and some of his family members, Sandra Ray, and they found themselves in the Himalayas and met Babaji, the avatar Babaji. There's real accounts of Leonard Orr meeting Babaji and receiving this transmission of this style of opening and connecting our breathing pattern without a pause. Leonard Orr brought this medicine back to the West, and rebirthing was born. He initially, from what I understand, started breathing people in a bathtub, and he soon realized that Westerners needed more work on land to open their breathing pattern before they were ready to do work in the water. One of the things that we have seen in people's feedback of their experience in the 70s and 80s and 90s, especially through the offerings of the old school style of rebirthing, and also the branch of holotropic work, was this Stanislav Grof and his love for altered states of consciousness, his love for LSD and psychedelics, and realizing that we are psychedelic in nature. And he started using the breath as a way to reach peak states of consciousness. And these two main branches have had a bit of an ambitious Western approach to the addiction to peak experience, to higher states of consciousness. And traditionally, what I've seen with some of the old school rebirthers is that rebirthing was mostly upper respiratory. There was a quite intense breathing pattern. Some people still today experience offerings of a two-part intense breath that gets us into cathartic emotional release. And this can be a little bit dramatic, a little bit too much too soon for a lot of people, and how much we have been managing today. Today, there's also hundreds and hundreds of different offerings and expressions, practices of conscious connected breathing, being transformational breath, clarity breath work, soma breath work, breath wave. There's all sorts of different offerings and definitions, titles of this style of connecting the breath, mostly in and out of the mouth without a pause. And this usually opens up a question in regards to the safety of mouth breathing. One of the reasons why mouth breathing and conscious connected breathing has gotten a, wouldn't say bad rap, but a precautious awareness, particularly from the medical community. For example, pregnant women have been told that it's unsafe to do breath work when they're moving through their pregnancy, no matter what stage. And I totally disagree, partly because we have learned how to regulate and breathe in a much more gentle and balanced way, as opposed to just reaching for peak states of cathartic release and emotional healing. Although the potential is there for any style of breath work, the approach that we've evolved into as we've learned a lot more about the influence of our breathing on our nervous system, on our brain chemistry, on the blood chemistry, etc. We've learned more in the past 10, 15 years than we have in the history of what I've seen in regards to the exploration of breath work. We also see that indigenous ancient cultures also worked shamanically with the breath. At an international breath conference in Mexico City many years ago, I met a Mayan woman who taught what she calls Ha breath. Ha is the sun. And it was an open mouth breathing that connected us with the power of the sun. So one of the things we've learned about mouth breathing is, yes, it's more of a fiery nature. It does burn more moisture in the body. We are circulating more energy, more particles of light through the particles of oxygen, and therefore we're burning more moisture in the body, and we could potentially burn more chemistry and more motion, which is the water element in the body. And so the importance of a gentle approach and a balanced way of breathing with this fiery nature of mouth breathing is essential. And I like to ask people, do you feel that you can express your emotions through the nose? So as effective as nose breathing is for nervous system regulation, for calming our system, for more of a meditative focus and calm, because it's more likely that we're going to lean into sympathetic tone, sympathetic to the outside world, the stress state of being on alert if we're breathing through the mouth. Because it's more likely that we're leaning towards sympathetic tone through the mouth, then it's a really good idea to learn how to breathe properly through the mouth. And we have learned that we can safely and comfortably self-regulate and not just establish but maintain safety and comfort in the body, breathing in and out of the mouth. And the golden key to this is the softening and relaxation, particularly of your out breath. There's a psychosomatic connection between the jaw and the pelvis, and the vagal nerve, the root of the vagal nerve is in the gut. This is why we call the gut the second brain. What we call polyvagal is two channels of the nervous system that go up and down, and there's actually 70% fibers that go upstairs to the brain and 30% that goes downstairs to the rest of the body, the organs, etc. And so from the gut, through our feeling nature, we can establish safety and trust in our body and in our lives when we breathe from the belly. And we've found that breathing through a relaxed jaw and an open mouth gives us a more direct access to the belly, because there is a connection between the pelvis and the jaw. So when you soften through your jaw, when you open the mouth, when you keep the throat open, there's more of a grounded freedom and openness in your breath that's established in the belly. And so this is primary for us now in our understanding and direct experience with the breath, is to establish diaphragmatic breathing. When you're breathing with your diaphragm, you're breathing from your belly, and your belly's expanding and emptying. And again, this force of breathing in the belly is very grounding for our spirit to land, for the body to tell the brain, to tell the rest of our intelligence that we are comfortable and safe and secure and stable in our bodies. From this established foundation of safety in the body, we can start to open more dynamically. Our focus with Breathwave is primarily on the quality of your breathing pattern before we focus on the capacity or the amount of energy that you're moving with your breath. And so the first place we meet you as facilitators is helping you establish a balanced breathing pattern by learning to correct your patterns of resistance that are mostly unconscious in your breathing. So this is how breathwork has evolved, particularly in the West. And the feedback that we're getting is that this gentle, softer approach to breathing is much more readily available and comfortable for people to open up, especially initially. The invitation to commit to this quality of presence can be more challenging. Once you establish these relaxation response, you can start to get a little bit sleepy. So your commitment to staying present in the body can be a little bit more challenging in relation to an exaggerated approach to peak experience, which is more heightened, more enlivened, more stimulating. Yeah. We can get to these higher states of awareness, firing up the brain, turning on the lights in different areas of the brain more sustainably, more gradually, and in a more comfortable and balanced way once we establish this ground of being first. So explore all different types of breath, find out what works for you, and know that it hasn't been very long that we've been studying and exploring this modality that we know of in the West as conscious connected breathing. But I believe that for many, many generations in indigenous cultures and teachings all around the world, we have been exploring with our breath. Let's keep learning, let's keep unlearning, and I'm always open to suggestions, feedback, and guidance from each and everyone that breathes with me, and my continued personal evolution with my own practice. Thank you for listening.